Thingkho Le Malcha by KSO Media and Documentation Cell. Issue number 71. Tuesday, 21 November 2023. Headlines. Withdraw FR against IDLF Secretary. Kukiland Thingkho. Koda's total shutdown strictly enforced in Manipur's Kangpokpi. Kukizo medical students sidelined by concerned authority hold protest. Assam Rifles refutes alleges false allegations over firing at Sagalmang. Book on Manipur mayhem. Key players and events released. Center ignores Mizoram's repeated requests for aid to provide relief to Manipur refugees. An unequal war in Manipur. Banning 8 Meitei group signals many shifts in and around Manipur. Thingkho Le Malcha. Relief Center update. B. Lua Hoi Malcham Relief Center. Sangako Block, Lamka District. Managed by GISO Relief Committee, Gungates Students Organization GHQ. Total inmates registered, 95. Male, 42. Female, 53. Kuki victims update AS on November 20, 2023. Deaths, 152. Villages burnt, 200 plus. Houses burnt, 7,000 plus. Churches and synagogues burnt, 360. Displaced persons, 41,425. Withdraw FR against IDLF Secretary. Kukiland Thingkho. The Kukiland Thingkho KIT has expressed its strong dissatisfaction and condemnation against the filing of FR against the General Secretary of Indigenous Tribal Leaders Forum, IDLF, Muin Tuming. On November 18th by Charachanpur Police Station OCN Thangsamuin, who himself is a Kukizo, when the state of Manipur is systematically carrying out with its ethnic cleansing bloodshed on the Kukizo tribes. It is deeply painful and horrifying on the part of the Indian government rigidly supporting N. Biren Singh-led Taliban-style government of Manipur merely for the sake of politics, allowing the sons and daughters of the Kukizo bravehearts who led and fought alongside Netaji against the British colonial power and played a pivotal role in the national freedom movement to be tortured, raped, and beheaded publicly. KIT said in a statement issued on Tuesday. Kaikalil Haokip, media and publicity of Kukiland Thingkho, said the words expressed by Muin Tuming was neither his mere opinion nor IDLF's but the voice of the suppressed Kukizo Indians. It is the voice of those who are desperately longing for equality, human rights, and self-determination, seeking a piece of justice within the purview of Indian constitution which they have been deliberately deprived of after 76 years of the so-called India's independence, he said. Terming the FIR against the IDLF Secretary, Muin Tuming, allegedly based on charges of sedition and conspiracy against the Indian government as totally baseless and unwarranted, the Kukiland Thingkho demanded immediate withdrawal of the same or else, it warned, the Manipur killing engine government under N. Biren Singh should be held accountable for all the consequences. Koda's total shutdown strictly enforced in Manipur's Kangpokpi. The emergency total shutdown for 48 hours following the brutal killing of 2 innocent Kukizo in an ambush yesterday in Manipur's Kangpokpi district witnessed stringent enforcement in the whole of Kangpokpi. The emergency total shutdown imposed by the top Kukizo tribal body, the Committee on Tribal Unity. Sadar Hills Kangpokpi will culminate at 6 p.m. on November 22. Volunteers were seen along National Highway 2 strictly enforcing the total shutdown. They strictly scrutinized the documents of exempted services and allowed them to pass if found genuine. The volunteers sent those vehicles back without genuine documents. All shops and business establishments remained closed while educational institutions were also shut during the total shutdown. Similarly, blocking of National Highway 2 was seen at various locations in the Kangpokpi district till Gamja 5.2 innocent Kukizo including a 6th IRB personnel were killed brutally in an ambush allegedly carried out by valley-based insurgent groups between Laon Viphi and Karam Viphi in the Kangchup area of Kangpokpi district on November 21 morning at around 9:30 a.m. The KOTU, while imposing the 48-hour emergency total shutdown in the whole of Kangpokpi, sought the intervention of the central government and handed over the case to the Central Bureau of Investigation. No untoward incidents have been reported till the filing of this report, while there is also no sign of relaxation or withdrawal of the total shutdown on the part of the KOTU. Kukizo medical students sidelined by concerned authority hold protest. The internally displaced medical students from the Kukizo community on Tuesday took to the street in protest against the continued discrimination by the concerned authority, debarring them from appearing the first-year examination under the Manipur University that commenced today. The Kukizo students, who were displaced from the Meitei-dominated Impul, felt hurt because their fellow displaced students belonging to the Meitei community from Charachanpur Medical College were allowed to continue their studies at Impul NIMS Center uninterruptedly, whereas no such arrangement was made for the displaced Kukizo student community. The Kukizo students said that they somehow joined their fellow Churachandpur Medical College's students in the classes with the hope of writing university examination together with them, which was verbally assured by the chief secretary in the DC Churachandpur. However, they were denied appearing the examination. The students took a rally from Tubong Bazaar to the mini-secretariat, Tubong, and held a sit-in protest at the DC office gate the whole day and submitted a memorandum addressed to the governor of Manipur through the deputy commissioner. The protesters were also visited by the Northeast Students Organization NISO. Leaders such as Ejan Lotha, NISO coordinator, Madovi, president of NSF, and Haokip, CC Finance of NSF. The NISO coordinator, Ejan Lotha, while talking to students, assured them that the organization has taken the issue seriously and would try to solve it so that their grievances are sorted out. In the memorandum, the medical students stated that there are 33 Phase I MBBS students, 27 displaced from Impol colleges and 6 non-displaced of CMC, continuing their classes at Churachandpur Medical College, CMC. Since the aftermath of the ethnic crisis in Manipur, the meeting of the directors/deans of medical colleges under the Manipur University held on October 20, 2023 had resolved to seek permission from the National Medical Commission for any alternative arrangement and possible modalities for conducting examination of the displaced students of the state. In the letter No. U15028/2023, UGMEB dated 13/11/20323 issued by the National Medical Commission, the Commission clearly stated that NMC has no objection if displaced students appearing in the university examination from parent college or from a different college. University may take decision after due consultation with colleges and state authorities. Accordingly, the 27 MBBS displaced tribal students also filled up their examination forms, admit cards, and deposited the exam fees. The copies for payment of fees were submitted through DC, Churachandpur. We the 29, 2 BDS plus 27 MBBS. Displaced students were thus preparing to write the university examination scheduled on November 14, 2023 and November 21, 2023 respectively. Unfortunately, in the last minute of November 13, 2023, we were debarred from taking the BDS exam, and again on November 18, 2023, we were informed that admit cards and exam materials were sent only for 6 MBBS Churachandpur Medical College students, and yet the displaced students were excluded, the students said in the memorandum. This arbitrary action of Manipur University has greatly disappointed us. We would, therefore, like to know on what ground our 6 fellow students from CMC are allowed to write their exam, and we are denied the same when all of us have been having the same classes and same trainings under one roof? YMU is not allowing us to write the university exam even after getting NOC from NMC? The displaced tribal students allege that they were discriminated, intentionally sidelined, and the concerned authority has taken away their rights to education. With no hope in the University of Manipur, the students urged the governor of Manipur, Anusiya Yuki, to kindly expedite the process for migration of the minority Kukizo medical students to other suitable medical and dental colleges outside the state of Manipur, which was also the recommendation of the Supreme Court in its interim. Order W.P.C. number 576/2023 PLW. Order dated November 7, 2023. Assam Rifles refutes alleges false allegations over firing at Sagalmang. The Assam Rifles strongly condemned the alleged misleading information spread by some vested interest groups in connection with the firing incident on the night of November 19 at Ishika village under Sagalmang police station in Impol East. The Assam Rifles Authority claimed that such false and misleading reports had been done to malign the image of Assam Rifles deployed in the Sagalmang area. The truth behind the firing was that due to the sighting of an unidentified flying object near Impol Airport, all security personnel were on high alert. The personnel of 18 Assam Rifles sighted the flying object which was traveling from the Wakan area towards the Ishika village. They fired on the said flying object to bring it down and prevent any untoward incident. It stated. It also highlighted that the team tracked the object from Ising Thimbai village towards Ishika village, and when the object started coming down towards the Ishika village, the team fired on it. However, due to the sound of firing, the villagers of Ishika village came out and started protesting. It stated. It then clarified that the commandant of Assam Rifles along with police representatives immediately reached the spot and explained the situation and the reasons for the firing, and when they realized that the action was done for their own safety, they subsequently dispersed peacefully contrary to what had been quoted in the news reports of Sonali Ibach. It then appealed to the people not to believe in such false propaganda instigated by people with vested interests. Book on Manipur Mayhem, Key Players and Events released. Media and Publicity Cell of the Indigenous Tribal Leaders Forum, ITLF. today released a book titled Manipur Mayhem, Key Players and Events at YPGHU Hall, Thingkho Le Malcha. The book was released by Zoe United convener Albert Rintley and dedicated to God's glory by Reverend Dr. L.H. Jackie Simt, Secretary Goodwill Council, in the presence of various CISO's leaders. The book published by the ID Left Media and Publicity Cell is a compilation of articles, documents, and photographs that bear witness to a somber period in the chronicles of Kukizo people. The contents of the book consist of 5 sections. The book also carries narratives that are both heart-wrenching and heartwarming. They speak of loss and sorrow, but they also speak of courage and hope. They tell of lives upended by conflict, but they also tell of lives rebuilt with resilience and solidarity. The book also explores the key players and events that shaped the course of history for the Kukizo people. The book itself was dedicated to the all Kukizo martyrs whose lives have been lost in the hands of the Métis. Center ignores Mizorum's repeated requests for aid to provide relief to Manipur refugees. Despite repeated requests from Mizoram over the last several months, the Union government has not rendered any assistance in cash or in kind towards providing relief to internally displaced persons (IDPs) who are fleeing violence-hit Manipur, said officials from the state government according to the Telegraph. There are about 12,000 Manipuris currently seeking refuge in neighboring Mizoram, following the unabated ethnic violence between Métis and Kukis for the last several months. Mizoram Chief Minister Thingkho wrote to the Union government 2 letters for financial assistance of 10 rupees crore, one in May and the other in June this year. Later, the state government also dispatched one of its cabinet ministers and a senior official from the State Home Department to Delhi to follow up on the letters, which requested the center to share its burden in providing relief to IDPs. Thingkho had said, in his letters, that it was very difficult on the part of his government to look after the thousands of IDPs. And the state government apprehends a bigger humanitarian crisis unless the Union government steps in to share the burden of looking after the IDPs. The Mizos of Mizoram share the same ancestry with the Kukizo community from Manipur as well as with the Chin community of Myanmar and Bam refugees from Bangladesh. In addition to the influx of Manipuris seeking refuge, Mizoram has also been providing shelter to many running for cover to escape persecution in conflict-ridden Myanmar and Bangladesh. According to Mizoram officials who met the authorities at the Union Home Ministry in Delhi, the exercise didn't bear any fruitful results. Following this, Mizoram's chief secretary received a phone call in September from officials in the Union Home Ministry expressing their inability to provide financial assistance but promised in-kind support. However, nothing came of that phone call till date, according to Mizoram officials. There was no response to this, which left the people of the state baffled. There is a negative mindset about the center in relation to the treatment of the displaced people from Manipur in Mizoram and the refugees from Myanmar and Bangladesh, Telegraph quoted a senior official from the Mizoram government. When the government of India is very prompt in giving in-kind assistance and relief materials to Palestinians, why is the center having difficulty in rendering assistance to its own citizens who have been internally displaced from Manipur to Mizoram within India? The official asked. Most of the fleeing Manipuris are taking shelter in 9 of 11 Mizoram districts, where the state government has made arrangements. Except for the Saiha and Longlai districts, there are internally displaced persons in all other districts. The majority of the relief work is being carried out by the Mizoram government, the church, and local civil society organizations. Source: The Wire. An unequal war in Manipur. The war in Manipur between the Kukizo and the Métis will go down in history as one of the most unequal war. The fact that the Kukizo still manage to hold their positions with the barest and most rudimentary tools will also become the sort of legends which would be spoken of in the centuries to come. The Métis were handed over about 6,000 sophisticated weapons along with more than 6 lakh ammunitions. The entire Manipur state machinery led the ethnic cleansing pogrom against the Kukizo, with the state police commandos leading from the front. Besides, they had thousands of Métis separatist groups operating in Myanmar and India who openly joined hands with Manipur police. What a reunion they must have had, and what a sight to see the so-called dreaded commandos running helter-skelter for their lives. History remembers the Battle of Stalingrad during the Second World War as a testimony to a resilient community defending their land against all odds when Hitler's Wehrmacht was stoutly opposed by the Russian Red Army. Kukis didn't even have the guns or the ammunition that the Red Army had, but they had to stand their ground for their fatherland was being invaded. Mayday War strategists would have expected a cakewalk. Yet their numerical superiority and assortment of weapons didn't result in the entire annihilation of Kukis like they wanted. They forgot that they were fighting a community that had fought the mighty British for almost 3 years. Métis might deny Anglo-Kuki war, but they are witnessing the reality of a community that has shown the British what they are capable of even with local-made muskets. On the first few days, the Meiteis did manage to burn all the Kukizo houses in Impol and in the peripheries where the people least expected and prepared for a war. Arambai Tangle and Meitei Lipun went rampage and burned many villages. However, soon the Kukizo started making gunpowder and a local-made cannon, Pumpy, popularly known as PP-23, and a stout defense started. Normally, if given a gun, a Kuki civilian is a ready-made fighter and even more ferocious than the well-trained Meitei insurgents. Meitei Lipun and Arambai Tangle must have thought that riding around in Royal Enfield, making bold statements, or showing masculars' bodies in social media makes one a great fighter. Or for that matter, a zombie-like herd, they thought, might scare away the warrior spirit of the hill tribes. They were shown their place at Ajang and Commonlock where they came in thousands to burn Kuki villages. Cycle area happened to be home to some of the sturdiest fighters among Kukizo. While the dead counts differ, it is safe to say that at least 100 to 200 Meiteis died around Commonlock. To hide their shame, they have not even revealed the exact number of their deaths. One day, their women will cry looking for their lost sons and husbands whose deaths are still concealed. That day, the so-called leaders of Arambai and Lipun, including Biren Singh, will run for their lives. If Kukizo people have had the amount of guns that the Meiteis have, they could have burnt even the city of Impol. With barely local-made cannons called Pumpy and muzzle-loading guns, they could man the LOC. If the Meiteis couldn't breach Kukizo frontier with 6,000 weapons when Kukizo were not prepared, it is unlikely that they will breach it even if they get additional 10,000 guns. It's funny how Meiteis even dreamed of ever fighting the Indian army for an independent Manipur when they couldn't even break the Kukizo frontiers with people defending initially with sticks and stones. With Meitei secessionists in Myanmar now running away to save their ass from that country, with their dream of an independent Manipur almost over, future Meitei youths will question Biren Singh as to what he actually achieved by inciting this war. The Kukizo groups along with other PDFs will continue hunting Meitei insurgents in Myanmar for colluding with the junta, and with the winds changing in Myanmar, soon. Meitei secessionists will have no other way but to surrender and be kept in designated camps in Manipur. Perhaps, sensing this, people in Delhi might have given a tacit free hand to them to invade territories in Kukizoland to set up designated camps. However, the Kukizo had resolutely defended, and history will sing praise of the valiant Kukizo volunteers who stood tall with their muskets in front of Meiteis holding thousands of sophisticated weapons. It was indeed a David versus Goliath battle, and everyone knows how that story ends. The Kukizo fought as men defending their ancestral land, and for such people willing to die for their land, no force on earth can defeat them. Banning 8 Meitei group signals many shifts in and around Manipur. Even as the country celebrated the Festival of Lights, the darkness and faraway Manipur turned a deeper shade of black. This Diwali, the Ministry of Home Affairs, MHA, proscribed 8 armed groups hailing from the northeastern state. The MHA stated in its press note that they belong to the Meitei community, an unusual mention. Kamkon Swan Housing, academic and a prominent voice of the state's minority Kuki community, which has been locked in bitter ethnic conflict with the majority Meiteis since May, said this underlined an interesting turnaround in Government of India's stand on who poses real threats to India's national security. He also asked, apparently, event management sits uneasily with ground realities. A wake-up call and time to reimpose FSBA in disturbed, Meitei-dominated valley areas of Manipur? A sharper question to the central government could have been this, though. Has the Union Home Minister Amit Shah's repeated claim to the media that peace has come to the northeast due to the Narendra Modi government become a bottleneck for the MHA? Especially as it is balking about considering the reintroduction of the controversial FSBA Armed Forces Special Powers Act in Manipur, where armed groups seem to have played a considerable role in escalating the recent violence? Double-engine power takes a hit. Analysts say scenes of India's security forces having to let go cadres of a banned outfit in the northeast accused of attacks because of pressure from a mob have been unprecedented and have greatly damaged the double-engine government's credibility, both in Delhi and Impol. Never have we seen so many armed groups declared banned, for as many as a decade, anywhere in the northeast without the center switching on the disturbed area button in FSBA to grant extra powers for the security forces to hunt them. In 2018, when these same outfits were banned by MHA for 5 years, this recent ban is a renewal of sorts. That way, FSBA was functional across Manipur except in the Impol municipality area. Even when the ban on these outfits continued, the MHA in 2022 made a rare move by removing the disturbed area tag from 15 police stations spread across the Meitei-dominated valley areas. On March 26th, barely a few weeks before this May 3rd violence gripped Manipur, 4 more police stations of the valley districts were dropped from the ambit of FSBA by the MHA. Manipur's chief minister N. Biren Singh was heard telling local media in Impol then, this historic moment was achieved Following the era of peace and prosperity that came in the state with the arrival of Prime Minister Narendra Modi-led BJP government in Manipur, the buck stops at the center. An even sharper question would then be, has the ruling Bharatiya Janata Party, BJP, as claimed that Modi, or more specifically, the National Security Advisor, NSA, Ajit Doval's assessment of peace has come, in Manipur gone horribly wrong? Was that claim of the government of the day mere hogwash, a claim without any basis then? Was it a miscalculation, misinterpretation of the ground reality? No peace in Manipur to date. These questions are applicable because, if peace in that border state was in existence only till this March end, as per the center's assessment, how is it that only in the first week of May all hell broke loose, and a band of proscribed Métis armed groups got down to action in an area, given the green signal for removal of AFSPA? The common refrain in Impul is, these outfits might have been instrumental in looting dozens of those AFSPA-free police stations for arms and ammunition. Pertinent as they may be, but the dilemma before the independent media is, whom should it pose these questions? Who is responsible for it? Impul or New Delhi? Will there even be a reply? Though the MHA press note accused these outfits of mobilizing cadres for escalating their secessionist, subversive, terrorist, and violent activities, propagate anti-national activities in collusion with forces inimical to sovereignty and integrity of India, the NSA is so far conspicuously quiet on Manipur, let alone seen repeating his biryani moment to symbolize peace has come to Manipur. More questions need to be asked. Nevertheless, questions must be asked. So here is another. Has the ruling BJP, it has the double-engine variety in Manipur, decided to not bring back AFSPA in the valley areas of Manipur for now because it is a sensitive subject for the state's majority community? The one-of-a-kind fast by Iram Sharmila was a non-violent rebellion against New Delhi for clamping down the draconian law largely on the Métis community. The memories of rapes, killings, and encounters by security forces are still fresh in the streets of Impul. No one in the valley wants to return to those dark days. No affected family has got justice yet. All Manipuris want to see better days, not naked display of arms that make life so cheap, which occurred recently. With so many dead and thousands turning homeless, many feel that the state clearly failed them. Still, that elections recur every 5 years is also a reality. So, is it then important to ask if the present decision of the Modi government to not reimpose AFSPA in the valley areas of Manipur in spite of MHA finding that secessionist armed groups have gained ground and muscle, have to do more with voter sentiment? Analysis says that the Modi government has been careful about timing policy decisions in their announcement, keeping the BJP's electoral prospects in mind. In 2022, BJP could win a clear majority in the Manipur Assembly for the first time due to the overwhelming support to the party by the Métis community. That Modi the campaigner went to Impul to seek votes in 2022, but Modi the prime minister didn't, or couldn't. When their lives were turning upside down is a grouse most Métis nurse in the wake of the continuing post-May 3rd violence and disruption in the state. Only time will answer conclusively whether it is then a palliative by an election-centric ruling party. Electoral gambits in Myanmar unrest. Not just in Manipur, but across the northeast, it is an open secret that several political leaders of all shades covertly misuse insurgents who are engaged in peace talks with the central and state governments. These militants are overground because of the sustained ceasefire agreements with the government. Anyway, the past of several top political leaders from across the region are linked to banned armed outfits is no secret. Manipur Chief Minister N. Biren Singh, too, was once charged under the National Security Act, NSA, for allegedly supporting the People's Liberation Army of Manipur, PLA, one of the groups banned by MHA. However, with things taking a sharp and surprising turn in neighboring Myanmar, such election-time misuse of armed groups in Manipur cannot be taken lightly. The MHA renewing the ban on so many insurgent groups, even if they are not large in cadre strength, also gains more significance considering their bases are typically across the international border. Additionally, the joint offensive carried out by Myanmar's pro-democracy forces along with local armed groups in Chin and Saguing regions since this October end has succeeded in snatching away from the Myanmar ruling junta strips of strategic areas along the Indian border. These land strips are not just adjacent to Mizoram, but some are close to Manipur, Arunachal Pradesh, and Nagaland, too. In the larger scope of developments in that country, a key trade route with China and the Shan state has also fallen into the hands of the rebels. These continuous wins are coming at a time when Myanmar's government in exile, a supporter of this offensive, is noting that India is engaging only with the junta. The MHA in its wisdom has not lifted AFSPA from areas of Manipur that border Myanmar, even though in that stretch all the armed groups are under ceasefire and in peace talks with the Indian government, unlike the Métis groups. Shifting blame. Post-May 3rd violence, Both the state chief minister and the union home minister had blamed Myanmar, indicating drug lords and illegal immigrants from the country for it. This then makes Haoswing's comments cited above more relevant. The MHA's decision to ban these Meitei groups seemingly operating deep inside Manipur came just weeks after external forces were solely blamed for internal violence. Has the BJP government's narrative on those responsible for Manipur violence then again shifted significantly? First published by The Wire.
Gamle nam ven bit na di thisan phal ngam min apang wi tona pule pate lung khatha khanin alengwi gamle nam ven bit na di thisan phal ngam min apangwi Sumama kun sa panghung konin Sumama British de hung vai konin Tono pule pa gang sukeri Koki ka in agilin te pihui Bristele sa pangsi pai su Kuki nam pi adi
Kia hiki pukat na Kia hinal ke itina Kuki ahi ihana Lukhana panlana Ahi hiletsun te hung lung te ding zala nam nam pi adin ki pana Kinena Nalke ahi ahung lung ding ni khoen Hanin lang hangin Ay lung neluvin Pangin lang na thane sun Zain lang hunung kumai Malam lam pi adin Nam pi kinep na bang Hung lep lo ding tong ni bang Hung praising hen zing dai tui bang Nam pi ngai zat ahi e nang tabang Khai ki panin Ding doi lang nung son hi in Pasang na hi lung neo hi in Ki king zingin hung kon te ding igal mi Hu sing ding igam hi lung halo ding kanam mi kan tabang an kitara Zing zong le inama Un so te ding lung puna Ikia te diu lung khana Ay pan pi diu chumang pa Gamla nama ding ati mas tengka hin pi e kasana
Chumang panung hin hay zin lang
Lung hin hay zin lang
Get hay na kon Hay chat do ta vin